Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ash from Saturn Infotech, and I have Abhijit Apte with me. So we are going to present iProcurement 11i versus R12 and the upgrade tips for iProcurement module. Just to brief about Saturn Infotech, it's an Oracle Gold Partner company. We are based in Northfields, Pennsylvania. We are covering the entire US, doing Oracle implementations, and talking about Oracle. It's going to be e-business suite, Fusion middleware, and Hyperion EPM. That's a 360-degree service view, what we are covering, starting from Exalytics. We have a lab of Oracle Exalytics in our office based in Pennsylvania. Supply chain management, EPM, business analytics, service-oriented architecture on the people, ERP, which is covering e-business suite, and BI. It is OBIE and BI apps. So we are into implementation, upgrade, support, testing, professional services, managed services, and we do all kind of deployments, starting from support, DBA support, custom development, and testing services. I'll give it to Abhijit Apte, and he'll take it forward from here. Thank you.
Let me give me a brief background about myself before I start the presentation. Myself, Abhijit Apte. I have been working in this area for the last 12 years. I have played various roles, like starting from the developer to business analyst to project manager throughout my career. That's a brief background about myself. Already Ash has given a background about our company. We are highly dedicated professional with a zeal to achieve quality delivery. So now let's move forward and talk about today's agenda. We are going to cover enhanced features introduced in R12 as far as the iProcurement module. Then we'll be talking about the catalog content management, and related setup and processes. Then we'll be talking about the upgrade process, which is followed when we are upgrading the catalog data, and then we'll talk about the content security model, which is a new feature, and we'll talk about the related setup, and then we'll conclude. So, what are the enhanced features in iProcurement model? There are two major areas that have undergone considerable architectural change, which are basically catalog content management, and other one is the content security model. So I'm going to talk about those in coming slides. Now, in release 12, the catalog contents are managed through the global blanket purchase agreements. In 11i, this mechanism was not there, and due to this, there was a considerable change in the release 12, how the catalog content management is done. And the new architecture is giving a really good advantage and new features to user community. As a result of this, the extractor programs which were there in the 11i, those are no longer required in the release 12. So let me give a brief overview of what has been achieved in release 12 catalog. So with the new enhanced features in catalog agreement management, catalog authoring capability has been provided to buyers, supplier, and catalog administrators. It's available through buyer work center, iSupplier, and iProcurement catalog administrator responsibilities. We can upload the files, and it mostly uses the industry standard formats such as OAUG, XML, CIF. One of the great features which is provided in release 12 as far as the catalog management, catalog agreement management is the difference of summary. This feature is showing the differences between the earlier version of the catalog and the newer version of the catalog. This feature can be used by the people who are modifying the global blanket purchase agreement, as well as the the buyer who is accepting those changes. Then there are features like approval using the approval hierarchy, revision control. Basically, we can have a revision for revisions to our global blanket purchase agreement, and we can archive the old catalogs. The update to the catalogs are now real time, and there is no longer extractor programs are no longer required. So, what are the setups required to have catalog agreement management working fine? So, there is one setup which is available from purchasing super user responsibility. This is called tolerance and routing for acceptance of agreement changes. What is this setup? This setup is basically tells system that if there are changes in your catalog, are those going to be approved or reviewed and accepted and sent to the buyer for acceptance or not. We can set the values such as always, never, when price change exceeds tolerance. So if we select any of these values, the system will behave in that fashion. Always means whenever there is a change from a supplier or catalog administrator on catalog, it will go to the buyer for acceptance. Okay, so now let's talk about what is the process followed in the catalog agreement management in release well. Once we did the setup which I have shown in earlier slide, the buyer creates the global blanket purchase agreement header, then he adds lines to the global blanket purchase agreement either manually or using the upload functionality by uploading the file, XML file. Then buyer submits it for approval and it gets approved to the organization approval hierarchy. At the same time, buyer has an option to enable it for authoring to the supplier or catalog content administrator. So basically this is a new feature where you can send the catalog for authoring to the supplier. If in future the approved catalog gets modified by either supplier or catalog administrator, those changes will be these changes will come to buyer for review and acceptance. Okay, sometimes there is a price adjustment required by the supplier. Buyer can go and change those things into the blanket purchase agreement and send it for authorization to the supplier. Okay, so those kind of features are available in the new content catalog agreement process. So I have showed the same thing in a pictorial way. First one is that buyer create GBPA header. Second one is buyer update the GBPA headers with the actual catalog contents. Either buyer can enable authoring for supplier or catalog admin. Supplier or catalog admin update GBPA online or via bulk load. Once they also see the difference of summary, which is a new feature, and then finally they submit it for the buyer's acceptance. Once the buyer receives for acceptance, he also reviews the changes by looking at the difference of summary and then provides his decision, and finally once buyer accepts it, it goes for the approval hierarchy for approval, and once the approval is done, that catalog data is available for request in the iProcurement model. Okay, so let's talk about each individual step. In the step where the buyer creates the agreement header, basically various details such as supplier contact, effectivity dates, payment terms, and other information needed to create these are the information needed to create the global blanket purchase agreement header. Also, there are certain actions, as I said, the buyer can send the global blanket purchase agreement for authorization to supplier or catalog administrator or board. Those kind of actions can be taken on the agreement header screen. I'm going to show you shortly in the next slide the screen which has header level data. If you see here, we have all the details regarding the suppliers, operating unit, buyer, and the amount agreed, and the dates, effective dates. All those details are there available on the header level. Once those are filled, buyer moves to the next step where he fills up the actual content. Okay, what is actual content is nothing but the items which are going to be available on global blanket purchase agreement, and which will be finally available on the catalog in iProcurement. Okay, one of the great features provided on the line level is if there are two users modifying the same line at the same time, that both the records will be logged by one person and the updates will happen for one person at a time, and that is a really good feature. Visually, user can see if someone else is working on that particular record. There is an indication that this has been logged. Okay, that is another good feature. Buyer can override logs set up by the supplier and the catalog administrator at any time. That means buyer can override these logs and change the values as per the buyer's need. Once buyer changes those values, notification is sent to the earlier original users who have edited the document. So that is also another feature, good feature on this page. So I'm going to show you that page. If you see at the line level, we have item details and the price details. Okay, but if you see, there are not many fields on the screen. If you see hardly 6-7 fields on the screen on the line level. So what about the all other details about the lines? So if you see that pencil mark there, if you click on that, a new page opens, and that is an update line page. And in this page, basically, we can add various details such as price breaks and various item descriptors. So this is the page where we can add more details about your catalog items. Okay, so yeah, so that is where at this point we have created the agreement header and the line. So basically your agreement is ready. The next action is that I'm going to talk about a feature called view difference summary. This feature may not be used first time, but when in future there are any changes, let's say supplier has some changes for certain lines on the agreement, okay, and those needs to be accepted by the buyer. So this feature is useful at that point of time. Even it is useful for the person who is changing the global purchase agreement lines. Okay, so this page is so intuitive that look, you will be, whoever is accepting it will be able to immediately guess what has, look at the page and immediately able to determine what has been changed. So I'll go to that screen and it will be very clear to you guys. If you see here on the key section here, the green, blue circle says new line. The dotted line says deleted line, and the green circle, green mark says changed value. So let me explain that. If we add a new line to the catalog, then it is indicated with the blue circle. That means there is a new line added. If we have deleted, if the original user has deleted a line, then there will be dotted icon, okay? There will be two dots next to the line number, and that way the person who is viewing this summary will be immediately able to understand that that was the originally deleted line. Now, if you see the green icons here, those are new values. Okay, so basically the original value was 67 and now it has been changed to 75. So this summary feature is really extremely useful and very useful for even person who is modifying as well as whoever is approving the changes. One more feature is that percentage change in the price has been shown next to the price and amount column. That is also very good indicator for the buyer as an acceptor. Now there is a details button. These are the main details, main things which one are interested, but there are many other minor details which one wants to see, and if he wants to check is anything has been changed on those. So we can click on the detail button and we can see more details if those have been changed, and in the similar fashion as I told earlier, like green icon is for change value, and similarly for blue and dotted line. Okay, so that's a really good feature provided in the catalog agreement management in this well. Now, once buyer gets once the blanket purchase agreement is submitted for approval, or there are changes to the blanket purchase agreement, those comes to buyer for acceptance or rejection. There is a lot of flexibility provided in the same, that either all the changes in the agreement can be rejected, or all the changes in the agreement can be accepted at one go, or you can give your decision line by line basis. So let me show you that. Okay, so basically if you see this screen, you have button on the top for a bulk action. You want to take action for entirely for the catalog, okay, this particular agreement, then you can use this button. If you want to accept or reject individual changes in the line, individual changes to the line, you can take the individual actions also. So basically this is really good feature for buyer. Okay, so now, as I told earlier, the extractor programs are no longer needed. If you make a change to a global blanket purchase agreement, and once it's approved, it will be immediately going to reflect into your iProcurement, and it will be available for requester.
So I was told there was an issue with using local ASLs with this R12. You know anything about that?
You need to give me details.
Okay.
I'll share my email ID with you. Okay. Yeah. And there are issues definitely. Yeah.
When catalog is changed by the buyer and is requesting, approval to supplier, does the supplier need to have the iSupplier? Do we need to have iSupplier module? Then only.
Yes, definitely. They need to have access to the iSupplier. Yeah. And catalog administrator will do it from the iProcurement catalog administrator responsibility. Yeah.
If you have regular article purchasing with bunch of blanket agreements and you want those items to be in the catalog, do you need to set up new GBPs to come over, or can you do something?
I think those you can, the bulk upload items is going to be there, and that will turn, if you do that, it will create the new GBPs.
Can you set up email notification, and also can you approve by email? Or?
Yes, yeah. So those notification things are there.
So if we have a couple of BPAs with the same item with different suppliers, we don't have real catalog, but we have a bunch of blanket agreements with similar items. With, basically with a different description, but the way Oracle works is when you're trying to auto create, it checks item description, unit of measure. So what's happening is buyers are not able to auto create unless they change in the auto create screen right now. So I'm trying to come up with a mechanism to do it. Say same item, says staples or stapler is there on two different BPAs, but with a different description. You're saying why you have stapler, but it's not stapler, like consulting services. We have subcontract a lot of them, but it's the same item type we have. So each has a different context, but the description is what the requester and the buyer have in common. The first requisition, they said, oh, I want to buy this consultant, so they put all kinds of stuff in there in the description. And when you try to auto-create, unless it matches, it won't do it. So we're trying to come up with a mechanism.
Okay.
In this case, if you create a global blanket agreement, and you upload, and in the store, probably in the catalog, it will show the description and everything, so they can recognize.
Correct.
Will it show the blanket number also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can if they recognize the blanket, then they can find it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now, next one is the when will be the changes available to requester? Okay. It's not fair to we have let's say catalog agreement which is of 1,000 lines. Okay. And only there are changes to the 3-4 lines. Okay. When we make the changes, it immediately goes into status required for the approval as an entire blanket agreement. Okay, not the individual line. So it's not fair to hold all other lines, all other items to be available in the iProcurement. Okay. So how Oracle does is that if you have changes to the specific lines, those will be not available till it gets reapproved, but other items will be always there. So what does that mean is that whatever is in process, those blanket agreement will be available as well available in the iProcurement. Okay, now that talks about the catalog management, catalog agreement managed process. Now let's talk about the data upgrade. We are talking about the upgrading it from the 11i to R12. Okay, so earlier we used to upload the item, but we used to the GBPA concept was not there. Okay, so now what will happen to your content catalogs in 11i when we are moving to the release 12? Okay, those needs to be converted into the global purchase agreements. Okay, and it's not fair that users will create one by one manually. So Oracle has given certain steps. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that. So basically there are steps where you run the extractor programs in 11i. This is not required step, but you need to do that so that whatever you have in purchasing is in sync with your iProcurement before you move to the R12. Okay, there are certain pre-upgrade patches which you need to apply into the 11i instance so that you will have the user interfaces, which I am going to show in coming slide. Those interfaces will be only available if you apply these patches, and using those interfaces you will run the pre-upgrade programs. Okay, and you can see the pre-upgrade summary. You can see the summary, fix the files, fix the XML files, and re-upload, and you can clear as much as clean your data as much as possible in 11i. Once you move to the release 12, you can run the upgrade and review the upgrade summary and also fix it there. So I'll show you those screen. If you see, this is a release R12 pre-upgrade screen. This will be available after we, as I showed earlier, the patches applied to the 11i instance. If you see here, once we done the upload thing, you can see the exceptions like the shown here. Okay, and you can review this exception, download the data, XML files, correct those, and again upload it. So when you are moving to the release 12, you can convert your catalog contents to GBPA as much as possible in 11i. Okay, so basically we are preparing for release 12. Okay, in the 11i itself. Okay, and if you see that in the next slide, I'll show you. Okay, if you see that if you have your bulk loaded items from the contract purchase agreement or global contract purchase agreement, and they have reference to those, then whenever we create the global blanket agreement, there will be a reference to the contract agreement which is from the 11i. Okay. And if there is no reference to the contract purchase agreement, then I have shown those differently. Okay, so basically it converts all bulk loaded catalog into the global purchase agreements. Now, once you move to the R12, similar screen is there, okay? And you can see once you run the upgrade, you can see different errors. Mainly errors are like if you have not have a supplier site associated with the supplier, all those kind of issues will be shown, and those will basically data cleansing effort is needed. So basically there are multi-stage process where you clean as much as possible in 11i, go to R12, and there also you have the ability to change it. If you do not do it in 11i, the upgrade will take more time, because once you start upgrading the 12, then it will take more time because you have not done the preparation in 11i.
So if you have everything the global ASLs, right? And because I think the normal process is we set up local ASLs as exception to global ASL, right? So if you have a site that orders from another supplier, you're out of luck then, right? You have to set. How do you handle that?
Basically,
Or another supplier site, right?
You mean to say different operating from different operating units?
It could be this. It could be within the same operating unit. You have two facilities. One just orders locally. One orders global ASL, right? So you can't accommodate that then.
You can create multiple global blanket purchase agreements separate for those. You can
have to create a global.
Yeah, and even the global blanket purchase agreements can be created as a one, and they can be assigned to different operating units. So you need not to create multiple global blanket, but if it is really required, then you need to create. But if you have one set of agreements, those you can share with multiple operating.
Within the same operating, two global ASLs, I don't need to do that, right?
You can create multiple global blanket purchase agreements.
For the same operating unit?
Yes, as many as, Okay, so the R12 upgrade impacts basically now the catalog content is managed in blanket purchase agreements. Extractor programs are no longer needed. Okay, then as I said, you can are not needed to load catalog content for all operating units. Assigning GBPS to operating units serves that purpose, as I said earlier. There are the file formats used in the 11i were different, and there are converter program has been provided. So so these are the impacts of R12 upgrade.
Real-time update, what does that mean? My knowledge is a bit rusty on this one.
Okay, so real-time update is earlier in 11i. If you have changes to your requisition template and those data needs to be reflected into the iProcurement, there are extractor programs need to be run. Those are syncing your purchasing data in iProcurement. Okay, so that is not required now. Once your global blanket purchase agreement gets approved, let's say line level change. Let's say if you change price from $10 to $15, and once it is approved, immediately if the iProcurement person is requesting that, he will see that $15 instead of $10.
How are the catalogs initially loaded from the supplier? How is that information distributed?
Catalogs from
supplier catalogs or the items from
basically those are we can upload those as an XML file using XML files.
Are they SFTP or some way of communicating with that?
Yeah, basically whatever file they will send us the file, and we can upload the whatever way we can get
in
it.
XML standard.
Yeah, in XML standard.
Is the catalog loaded?
There are functionality in now global blanket where you can upload it from the screen. Yeah, using you have to. Yeah.
If you have inventory installed, then you can get the catalog items from inventory as well, right?
Correct.
If not, everything will be using XML loaders.
If you have inventory installed, right, those items will. But if you want to load, he's talking about the supplier catalog.
So
you differentiate between indirect procurement and direct procurement, because for direct procurement you wouldn't be loading catalogs, right? You have to have catalogs loaded, or For direct procurement,
Direct means
raw material,
No,
right?
If you have inventory means supplies within your organization,
Within
the
the
internal
organization.
acquisitions and purchase
Internal,
acquisitions.
right.
Purchase
External.
acquisitions,
For
external.
external.
So for that you need catalog to
Yeah.
pick that
Right,
up.
there's two types of external, right? It's
Yeah.
external office supplies or external raw material, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you understand the difference? Right? If you're a manufacturing company, you order components, right?
Yes. Oh, okay.
Right? You're using iProcurement as well, so how do you distinguish, I mean, you don't use for raw material, you don't go through catalogs. Catalogs is more for office supplies and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I got your point. Yeah, you're talking about basically raw material.
Yeah, it could be distribution or
expense.
It could be manufacturing. right?
core material for the business.
Okay. So, yeah, I think iSupply is not, iProcurement is, I didn't do the implementation for manufacturing.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
So
problem,
maybe,
no problem.
okay, so now let's talk about the security model change. Earlier we used to have in 11i a concept called security realm, along with the system profile, catalogs and etc. Those have been no longer used, but the new feature is the local content zones. Okay, basically catalog administrator can, if you see the home page of the iProcurement where we can see the stores, and inside the stores we see the different zones, right? It is same as 11i, but the underlying concept has been changed. Okay, so let me show you the page. Okay, if you see here, you have stores, and inside the stores you have different zones. Okay, these zones can be created by you, catalog administrator. And for example, we want to give access to certain user group for a particular zone, for a particular store. We can do that. Like for example, we can have exclusion or inclusion rules, like in this zone, okay, show me the all items supplied by supplier X, supplier Y, but not by supplier Z. Okay, and include the items which are including for only this item category. All those rules we can set up for the zone, and those zones we can assign it to the operating unit or the responsibility. So now people belonging to, if we set up it with the operating unit, then people belonging to those operating units will see those. Okay, so like that we can have a stores. Let me explain you the steps here. Basically, local content zones are created. We can have inclusion or exclusion rules, as I said, which needs to be shown or not. This content can be assigned to operating unit or responsibility, and those will be assigned to the stores. Okay, now we have a way to test this setup. We can test the store setup using this functionality in the setup screens. Okay, so if you see this screen here, I have shown here the sample content zone where you can include items from specific supplier. You can have this kind of stuff, or include the specific category. Okay, you can assign this content zone to a particular responsibility and this content zone will be there in a store. It can be assigned to multiple stores. Okay, multiple zones can be assigned to have, one store can have a multiple zone and vice versa. So that is about the security. This feature is really good because this is giving you, like, if you have like really business where you want to give access to only certain people for certain items or certain, if you have this kind of rules, this feature is really useful. Okay, that's I think the end, and the conclusion is basically the enhanced catalog content management is the new process introduced. Enhanced process introduced in release 12, which is really useful. And the content security, also one of the useful feature, is basically is basically reducing the overhead of the catalog management. Then buyer can delegate the authoring from supplier so that everybody is in sync. Then difference of summary, which I showed, those are like really good feature. Then now you have a versioning for catalog data. Sorry. So you have versions to your catalog data now. You can archive those. Yeah, basically we can say more streamlined catalog management than the 11i. And yeah, now the catalog is almost real time. Whatever changes happening, those are immediately repeated as soon as it gets approved. So yeah. Any questions? You can, yeah, these are my details. You can contact me anytime.
Your implementation, did you have to use the printing functionality of the requisition?
Oh yes.
So, the printable page, I don't know, in our users in the last minute they're saying, a requester has this printable page, option before they submit the requisition. Did you have to do, can that be accessible for somebody else as a buyer? When you pull up the requisition, can you just print that page?
From the iSupplier you are saying?
Not iSupplier,
Oh, sorry, buyer. You are
Buyer.
saying.
If you give buyer also access to the iProcurement, when you pull up, the printable page option doesn't come. It only comes when you're creating the requisition.
I'm not sure.
Did you have to do anything with that?